Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'll be showing you how to create this vest. It's only 26 granny square we need to create this vest, and there is a tutorial in my YouTube channel of making this granny square. You should need a total of 26. If you find this tutorial useful, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button so anytime a new video is uploaded you will be notified. So now let's get into the video. Alright, we are going to start joining our granny squares, and we are going to use the same method to join all the other granny squares. As you can see already, I already put some granny squares together. 3 granny squares are already together. So this is the white side of the granny square, as you can see, and we are going to put them together like this. This is the wrong side. It should be at the outside of our work. So put the two right side of the granny squares together like this, and then with the yarn that you use to create your granny square, go ahead and make a slip knot, and then go straight to that chain space on both granny squares like this with your hook, and you're going to pull through that yarn through that space and then chain 1. Make sure you leave a long tail so that you're able to weave in the remainder of your yarn like this. And then now we are going to start joining them together into the front loop of our first granny square. Go in with your hook, not both loops, and then into the next granny square you'll go into the back loop of that granny square. Make sure you don't skip a stitch, the first stitch of your granny squares, and then make a slip stitch. And then into the next stitch we are going to repeat the same thing into the front loop of this first granny square, and then into the back loop of the other granny square, pull a loop through those stitches and then make a slip stitch. So this is the method we are going to use to join our granny squares, and this is what we are going to do for all the other granny squares. Now for the back panels we are going to need 3. So you're going to put 3 granny squares, 4 granny squares together. So you should have a total of 3 panel identical for the back. And then for the front you're going to make 2, putting 4 granny squares together using the same method. And then for the underarm area we'll be needing 2 panels as well. This one is different from this back panel and the front panel. For the underarm area you're going to put only 3 granny squares together using the same method, and this is how it looks like in the right side of our work, and this is going to be the wrong side of our work. So put 4 granny squares together identical, make 3 for the back and then make 2 for the front, and then you're going to put 3 granny squares together, making 2. You're going to make 2 panels for the underarm area. So I'll go ahead and do this, and I'll meet you back at the end to show you what to do next. This is how it looks like. When you reach at the end, go into that chain 1 space and then to the next chain space, pull a yarn through there and then make a slip stitch, chain 1, and then cut off the yarn. Make sure you leave a long tail so you'll be able to weave in the end of your yarn. But this is how the wrong side looks like. As you can see, this is 4 granny squares. I'm going to make 2 more panels with the same method. So I should have 3 in total for the back, and then I'll do another 2 for the front, and then I'm going to put 3 granny squares together for the underarm area. So this is the right side of our work. This is how it looks like. So now we're going to weave in the ends of our yarn. With your darning needle, go ahead and insert your remaining yarn. You should weave in the end of your yarn at the wrong side of our work. So just go at the top of those loops you have at the wrong side, and then hide the remaining yarn you have. You're going to repeat the same method for the other tail of yarn. So when you finish, you will take your scissors and then cut off that remaining yarn, and you're going to repeat the same thing for the other tail of yarn that you have for your granny square. So do that and I'll meet you at the end to do another thing. Okay, so after putting all the granny squares together, this is 2 panel, which is going to be for the back. I need another 1 panel identical to this. We're going to place them like this, the right side inside and the wrong side outside, using the same method we use to join the granny squares together. Make a slip knot with your yarn, and then we are going to start right at the bottom of our chain space, putting these 2 panels together. Go in there with your yarn and then chain 1, and then to the first stitch, into the front loop of the first stitch, you're going to pick 1 loop, and then you're going to pick 1 loop into the next panel, going into the back loop, only 1 loop. Make sure your work is at the wrong side. The wrong side should be outside, and the good side of this work should be the inside. So when we finish, we're just going to flip it to the wrong side. So make slip stitches into every stitch until you reach next chain space, and then I'll meet you back there to show you what to do next. So after putting these 2 panels together, I'm going to take another 1 panel identical to this and join it together, which is for the back. Alright, when you reach at the top of the chain space, you are going to make a stitch in between these 2 spaces, and then you're going to the next 2 space of your work and then make a chain. So go ahead and walk through that space, that's chain space, and then make a slip stitch, and then go into the next chain space, make a slip stitch. And now we are going to repeat the same thing we just did for the bottom of that granny squares, going into the front loop of that stitch and then into the back loop of the next one, make the slip stitch. Repeat this until you reach at the end of your work, and I'll meet you back there. So like I said, when I finish putting these 2 together, I'm going to join another 1 panel identical to this, and then my underarm panel will follow after I put these 3 panels together. So this is what we are going to do for all the panels. Alright, when you reach at the end, you're going to make 1 more work into that chain space, make a slip stitch, chain 1, and then cut off the yarn. Make sure you leave a long tail at least to able to weave in the end of your remaining yarn. So this is the wrong side. This is how it looks like at the wrong side, and this is the right side of our work. This is how it looks. So I'm going to add 1 more panel here, so I should have a total of 3 panels for the back, and then 2 for the front, identical to the back. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end. Alright, when you put everything together, this is what you should have. So now we are going to join the back panel, the front panel together, everything together. And this is the front panel, one of the front panel, and this is the underarm, which is 3 panel you're just going to add. We have 2 for the front, identical to the back, and then the underarm you make 2. So this is how we're going to join them with the wrong side facing you, using the same method we do for putting the granny squares together. At the bottom of your vest, you're going to make a chain 1 at the chain space of your granny squares, and then going into the front loop of this first panel, and then to the next one, go into the back panel, the back loop, and then make a slip stitch. Repeat this until you reach at the end of your 3 granny squares for the underarm. And the same method we're using here for this side, we're going to use the same method to join the other side to put all the work together. So go ahead and make slip stitches, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, after putting everything together like this is what we have. We now have one panel of our vest. So now it is time to work on the edges. So you're going to flip your work with the right side facing you like this. At this time, you're going to take your yarn, and we're going to start working at the bottom. You go straight to this point of our chain space, make a slip knot, and then go into that space, chain 1, and then you're going to make a single crochet into that same space, and then to the next stitch, go into both loops, work a single crochet, work single crochet into every stitch until you reach your chain and the next chain space, and I'll meet you back at the end. When you reach this chain 3 counts as a stitch. Go into that space and then make a single crochet, and then to the stitch next to that chain 3, work a single crochet. Alright, when you reach this chain space, go into that space with a single crochet, and then at the center where our joining of our granny square takes place, make a single crochet there, and then to the next chain space, work a single crochet, and then to the stitch next to it, work single crochet, and then to every stitch. Repeat this until you reach at the end of your work, and I will meet you back there to start the next part. Alright, when you reach at the end of your work, you work 1 single crochet into that chain space, chain 1, and then now we are going to work the neckline, work single crochet into every stitch, go into the next stitch with a single crochet, and then into every stitch around until you reach the next chain space, and I'll meet you back there. When you reach at the same space, we're going to repeat the same thing we did for the bottom. 1 single crochet into the space, and then into the center of this space, make a single crochet. and then to the next space, work a single crochet, and then into each stitch around, repeat this. So this we are going to make a lace for the front part. I'm going to chain 71. Make sure you don't tighten up your foundation chains. You're going to chain the amount you want. So I have 71 with me here when you reach at the center, and then I'm going to walk into the back bump of our foundation chain, skip one stitch, make a slip stitch, and you're going to make a slip stitch into every stitch around until you reach at the bottom of your work. So you can change the amount of foundation. It depends on how long you want the front lace to be. So me, I have 71. I'll end up with 17. So make slip stitch into every stitch until you reach at the bottom of the foundation chain, and I'll meet you back there. So when you reach at the bottom of your work, you go straight into the next chain space and then work a single crochet, and then into every stitch around. So we're going to repeat the same thing for the top neckline. So this is what we are going to do until I reach at the end, the bottom of the work, and I'll meet you back there. And you're going to do the same thing we just did for the lace. So since I changed 71 for this one side, I'm going to change the same amount for the other side, and then work slip stitches into every stitch into the back bump of our foundation chain. So when you reach at the end, you're going to make a slip stitch into the first single crochet, chain one, and then you're going to cut off the yarn. We're going to weave in the remaining yarn into the wrong side of our first, and you're going to weave in all the remaining yarn that you have left. So this is how our work looks like. So this front part is finished. Now we are going to work into the underarm area. We're just going to do the same thing we did for the neckline. And to the underarm area of our vest, you're going to attach your yarn. This is my chain 3, which counts as a stitch. Into that space, I'm going to attach my yarn. I'm going to chain 1 and then make a single crochet into that first stitch. And then into each stitch you're going to make a single crochet. When you reach a space, put one single crochet, and then into the center, put one single crochet, and then to the next chain space, put one single crochet, and into every stitch. So repeat this until you reach at the end of this round. And we are going to repeat the same thing for the other side of our underarm area. So just put one single crochet into every stitch, into every chain one space until you reach the end, and then you're going to make a slip stitch into the first single crochet. You're going to chain 1 and cut off the yarn and weaving the remaining yarn into the wrong side of our vest, and then repeat the same thing for the other side of our work. And that is the end of making our vest. So I'm going to repeat the same thing I just did here into the other side. You're going to attach the yarn into the center, the middle of your underarm area, and do that, and your vest is ready.